from Guy's first football game as a high school player. Sounds from the crowd went dormant in his ears as he focused on the boot of the football that pierced the windless night above the artificial light of the evening. Guy saw through his glass of tears as eyed the ball into his hands, remembering the thousands of punts off of his father's foot that he had secured tightly. He could hear only his words as he strode toward the masses of bodies tangling in front of him. Head straight up the field, make one cut, and then accelerate. As Guy briskly crossed the 20-yard line, the Great Danes were galloping across the field in their own world, ready to punch out several Whitman players. The Samoans were bulldozing the middle of the field 10 yards behind them, like snowplows clearing the road. Sprint DMC flashed ahead, yelling instructions to each other as they broke off into a double-team block and pushed blue opponents to the side. Suddenly, Guy saw a clear passage open up as he crossed the 25. He was feeling above the pain in his body as he plowed his right foot into the turf and shifted into his sprinter's speed to finish the next 75 yards. Cousin Joe clicked his always handy stopwatch as Guy crossed the 30, and then watched in silence as he crossed the 40, and then midfield. Like a sudden tidal wave, Joe and the WJ sidelines dashed to follow the superhuman event. 40, 30, 20, 10, goal line. Joe clicked his watch and came to a stop. He bent over, put one hand on his sturdy thigh to catch his breath, turned the watch toward me with the other, and it read 6.3 seconds. Guy in his first college season had made some headlines. The Wolfpack head coach, Riley Rowland, had seen the film of sloppy special teams played by other teams that had led to Finelli's 6 touchdowns on punt and kick returns. He had also witnessed opposing quarterbacks that simply seemed to throw the ball right to him on 5 interception returns for touchdowns. At 3 in the morning, with just 9 hours to game time, Riley woke up from a nightmare and decided to put on a pot of coffee and review more film of Finelli. As he viewed the UND defense over and over, back and forth like a Ferris wheel, changing directions with every cycle, he worked through most of the pot of coffee. The darkness before a beautiful Raleigh morning did little to hide the play of Guy Finelli on film. Rowland had to admit to himself that the other 5 interceptions by Finelli, not for TDs, had been nice plays. And he never used the fair catch on punts. How neat is that, he thought to himself. And the way he could recover fumbles was uncanny. And the 4 TDs as a receiver were really precise patterns. That boy is really an athlete, Coach Rowland said out loud, realizing he was becoming a big fan of Guy Finelli. His heart was pounding now as he once again had overloaded on caffeine. He froze the film showing Finelli making an interception against an all-ACC receiver who was over 6 feet tall. He blew up the image and could not believe what he saw. Boy, that kid is really, really big. Rowland looked around and hoped no one was up in the house hearing him talk to himself. Then he restarted the film in super slow motion to see the whole play. He realized he could not get enough of this kid, and for the 20th time he watched a young athlete outleap the senior receiver and pull away from him down the sideline like a cheetah just warming up. He realized even in super slow motion that he was moving quickly. Rowland finally stood up, shut off the film, and said in his full voice what was screaming in his head, "Wow, that boy is really, really fast." Guy had a moment with his girlfriend, Anna. Guy's dream state had been nicely interrupted by Anna's touch and smell. They spent an hour together, perfectly complementing each other's desires. The energy created by their union could have kept them warm for 100 years, seemingly an endless resource. Guy turned his legs to the side of the bed, finally escaping their union, and rose to get dressed. Besides the need for clothes, he realized that hunger was once again his dominant need. Anna leaned on her side, supporting her head with her hand as she took the time to watch him move to his dresser. Feeling voyeuristic, she tried to define what was so different about his athleticism. She had seen him play football, lift weights, go for runs, swim in competition and for leisure, and then, of course, make love to her. She knew lots of athletes, had seen lots of men and women who were physically beautiful and coordinated. What Guy possessed, she finally figured out, was an amazing set of physical skills normally attributed to small athletes that were quick and shifty, strong athletes that were powerful and dominant, sprinters who were graceful and fluid, and lanky athletes who could jump and dominate airspace. She had never witnessed anyone like him, and she knew he was only getting better. Anna assumed there were 100 sports that Guy would be good at, but the stars were aligning for him to dominate the sport of football. This is a description of a play in the next season. And after the first couple paragraphs, I sort of decided to write what, for me, felt like poetry, which I've never done before, so you'll kind of notice it. The festive crowd could not purchase alcohol, but were not alcohol-free. The student section was especially well lubricated for the game, harvesting a party aid in support of their team. They were looking forward to a UMD blowout to open the season, followed by an evening full of fiestas. The 145th year of college football was ready to begin in perfect fall weather, seemingly made for the sport. Guy Finelli quietly took his spot on the field to receive the kickoff. His senses were fully prepared, as always, for the experience on the field. Watch the football into your hands, he reminded himself, feeling his dad's strength and presence. His senses and instincts took over his body. Loud roaring from the crowd isolating his thoughts. The football is boomed towards the end zone. He backs up from the goal line, secures the ball, feels his stride on the perfect man-made field turf. "Guy, follow me to the right," a teammate screams. A crashing sound of collisions to his side as he follows the white of friendly jerseys. Cousin Joe screaming, "Sideline, sideline!" No hesitation, pushing off his right foot, feeling free as Foreign's hands fall off of his thighs. Wind in his face, blue jerseys before him hurled near midfield. Rangy-looking kicker coming into view ahead, should be freedom to his left, cuts quickly. Left eardrum is silenced with a thump. His shoulder is jolted by a defender who is holding on with gloves and searching for his waist. Another pair of gloves grabs his hips and finally secures his thrusting thighs from behind. Guy's brain automatically commands to prepare for a fall. His free right shoulder tucks inside, securing the new pigskin as he slams the turf. 500 pounds of men echoing his crash. Instinctively he rolls, seeing blue, hearing, "We got you, Finelli, you faggot lover." Finelli gets to his feet, surrounded by a gang of 6 opponents, reminding him of past events, the gang spewing sorry statements of hate. Feeling adrenaline of no comparison, he sticks the ball in their faces. Teammates are flying to the scene as Guy hones in on the stupidest looking kid in a blue jersey who is screaming, "Cocksucker, faggot lover." He finally understands the intensity of strong Taylor. Behind his grill, Guy loads up and lets it fly. A load of fluid jets out of his mouth. It perfectly finds a seam through his opponent's face mask and lands directly in his left eye socket. The wounded, worthless noisemaker grabs for Guy's helmet. All the official sees of his humiliation is his obvious foul, and they penalize him. Each side grabs their hero and retreats. Noise roars at concert levels as Guy sees the red and white of humanity in the stands. Replay after replay surges the noise. Their hero retreats to the cries of support passed through him as from a parade of teammates. Then a cleansing bear hug from his cousin Joe seals his surge of acceptance. A glowing smile suggests that he knows that he is alone. A score, a kickoff, he dons his headdress once again to defend his territory. Sounds of the crowd's eruptions followed him onto the field, a field that he now owns. Let me finish with a couple paragraphs later in the book. It was directly ahead of him that he first saw her, in her bathing-suited shorts, looking like a high school swimmer, just hanging outside the gate of the pool and talking on the phone. Suddenly he was there, seeing their eyes meet for the first time as he entered the gate. He remembered smelling her scent as he passed close by her. A sweet smile beamed from her face as she played a teenager role to perfection, twirling her hair with a free hand. Quietly, she said into her phone, "Guy Finelli's here." She took another step, wondering if he heard his name, and then kept going before he came to his senses and turned to view the red-headed beauty. Her hair was hiding her face, but instinctively she looked up to the phone and put it on her chest. Brushing aside her hair, she said confidently, "Good luck, Guy Finelli." He wanted to say so much more, but nodded and uttered thanks. Turning away, he walked towards the nicely mowed bank of grass, remembering that he wanted to see her face again. But now, looking for the last time, he finally realized she was gone.